get to DC United and get a little preview here. What about your guys? Because what in Pele's sake does United have to do to reclaim its glory days, to reclaim respectability? Dax McCarty, of course, is a great start, but I'm not sure Josh Wolf or even Olsen or your designated player Branko Boskovic are the answer. So, where do we go from here if you're DC United?
There's still a piece or two missing, clearly, but they feel like they've made some good moves to strengthen the foundation and the leadership of the team. There's still a lot of question marks about, Chris Pontius, who has the potential to be an excellent player, but he was injured all last year. Right. Can they score goals? Is Andy Nahar going to take the next step and become a superstar in this league? Dax McCarty's impact should strengthen the middle of the field, which is, somewhere they haven't had a terrier in the middle of the field in years. Clyde Sims doesn't have the personality really to fill that role, and McCarty can. So that was an important move. There's still questions about central defense. Jakovic is a good back if he's next to someone with more experience and more leadership. But right now, it's Julius James, and they signed Ethan White to a homegrown contract. Jed Zahner's there. He's a good player, primarily on the outside. Mark Birch is back from injury. So, still issues in the back. Josh Wolf will help with forward depth, as will Joseph Nguyen, but they're still lacking that bona fide, proven scorer up top. They're looking, and I think they're very serious about signing someone. I don't know who. Yeah. But they need that. And then in goal, they traded away Troy Perkins, which places the burden on Bill Hamid, who's still a very young keeper, to step up. Right. And Steve Cronin, who's had some opportunities in MLS. Yeah. I think he's a capable keeper, but is he a guy you can rely on over the course of a year if Hamid doesn't mature? I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I think the little that we saw from Hamid, I think we can expect some good things, assuming that he recovers from his injury. But I think the biggest steal for you guys was the fact that FC Dallas didn't keep Dax McCarty protected, and that you ended up getting him from trading him and everything. But I thought that was a great pickup, and I cannot believe FC Dallas let him go.
Yeah, and they gave up Rodney Wallace, who might turn into a very good player in this league, but he's coming off a significant injury, and he's a wide player, and DC really needed to get someone to play in the middle of the field. Now they have McCarty. They could play him behind, a playmaking type player like Boskovic, or they can pair him up with Sims and play, side by side. There's a lot of things they can do there. So, they lose Wallace, who's a good athlete, a left-sided player who can play in the back and in midfield. But, you got to give up some quality to get quality, and they've done that. Now, let's see what they do with the next step, and that's the draft. There's a lot of good players out there. United has the number 3 overall pick. Kevin Payne, the president, went on the record with me the other day saying they're really focused on the attacking players available in the draft. Right. So they're looking there. But then they still got to go out and get an international player, whether it's, a central defender, a proven striker, or both. Right. This team was not as bad as last year, but there's still some pieces that need to be discovered, and it'll be Ben Olsen's job to put it all together.
And that brings me to another question. I mean, you're bringing Dax in, and he's going to hopefully solidify that midfield, and I'm sure he will. Where the hell are we going to put Clyde Sims in this situation? I mean, here's a guy with some great speed. I'm not real sure about his crossing ability, so you can't. I don't know if you can play him out wide, or do you play him up top almost? I don't know. Where do you put Clyde Sims?
No. Sims is a holding midfielder who also can play in the back if necessary. That's not really his natural position. McCarty has more bite to his game than Sims, and DC United needs some of that bite. Clyde Sims is the nicest guy in the league. I mean, you talk to him, he's got the best personality. He's so polite, but he plays like that too.
Yeah.
And in that position, you don't necessarily need that. You need something else. And so, they could end up trading Clyde Sims. They could, like I said, playing him alongside McCarty, more of as a finesse player compared to McCarty's, a little more a harder player.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question, and they like Clyde. He distributes the ball reasonably well, and he's a smart player. But McCarty brings something that Sims cannot offer.
Yeah, because when Sims came back last season, I thought, wow, immediate impact, and then it just kind of, faded away as the season went on. And but my question as well, and as we're down to our last couple minutes here, that the folks up for draft, who's the most likely best pickup for DC United as we come up to picking up some of these younger guys and college guys?
Well, if they follow through and go for an attacking player, Will Bruin, the striker from Indiana, was a scorer on the college level. Corey Herzog, a forward from Penn State, led the nation in goals this past season, is an option. There's a young player, Omar Salgado, who's 17 years old, has been playing with the under-20s, but I don't know if DC United wants another unproven young player.
Yeah.
It's a very young team as it is. I don't know if they'd go that route. The most dynamic player, perhaps, is Darlington Nagbe from Akron, but he might end up being the number one pick overall. So, we'll see how it plays out. There's some good quality attacking players in this draft who should be able to make an impact in MLS in their first year. And I think with the number 3 pick overall, DC's got some quality options there.
Some great players on that Akron team, by the way.
The group of Akron guys in the draft, all of them are going to go very high. And, Akron, to me, was by far the best soccer team the past 2 years. They lost one game.
Yep.
They destroyed teams at times. They didn't win the championship in 2009. They lost to Virginia on PKs. But, you watch them play. It's a beautiful quality of soccer. And Caleb Porter did an amazing job, and that's why Caleb Porter is a rising star in the coaching ranks in this country. DC United tried to get him last year. His name pops up for all kinds of jobs in the college level, and he's still very young. And I think you'll see him end up in the U.S. soccer program soon to some extent, whether it's helping out with the under-18 program or something. I really think the USSF, as well as MLS, have their eye on Caleb Porter and what he has done at Akron.
I hope they do, because they're one of the more exciting college teams to watch. So hopefully they'll.
They're by far. They're so enjoyable to watch. Just the interchange between players and just the composure, the skill that he brought in. It's really an artful brand of soccer, and it was on display vividly for the last couple of years. And even with the departure of all these guys, Akron should still be up there in the national scene, with Porter staying on the job for the time being.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned Will Bruin going relatively early in the draft, because a lot of people don't even have him in the first round at all. As a Hoosier myself, I absolutely hope Bruin goes early in the draft. In fact, I hope Chicago picks him up, because what little I've seen of him, he has the physical tools to be a quality striker in MLS, being physical, being big, being larger.
Yeah.
And he is also a clinical finisher. Hell, he had I think it was 18 goals for the Hoosiers this season. He led I think he led college in goals at that.
Yeah, in these Generation Adidas guys come with an added benefit because, they don't count against the salary cap, and they're given a couple years to develop before they're considered senior players per se. So you got to consider taking that chance. The combine is coming up in Fort Lauderdale, and the general managers, coaches will see these guys firsthand, which is important because college soccer is not on TV. It's not like college basketball where you can watch 10 different games every night and who's good and what their skills are. College soccer, unless you actually go out and see the games, you don't know much about these guys. You see them at the ACC tournament, you see them a little bit in the NCAA tournament, you see them at the combine or with the under 20s, but that's about it. So it's kind of funny when every year this happens, the draft approaches, and suddenly there's all these experts, evaluating these players who they've never seen play.
I know.
This isn't like college basketball and college football where these guys are on TV every single week. College soccer is just out of the public eye. I try, I cover Maryland, 6-7 times a year. I might see Virginia 2 or 3 times and maybe Georgetown once or twice, and that's it. That's all I see, and this is my full-time job. So, when you hear all these evaluations of players, it's almost comical because, these people just do not. Most of them. There are some people who make a concerted effort to go to games consistently. Everyone else doesn't know much about these players, and so you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Unfortunately, Steve, we are out of time, and I already have like a page full of questions I didn't get to ask, but that's okay. We'll live with that. But our typical 30 minutes blows by like maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I hope you'll come back and so we can talk more about MLS as the season develops and more things, of course. But I wanted to thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure. Glad to join you guys, and should be a fun year of soccer.